Hi, I'm Christopher Walker with Closely Observed Teaching. Recently I've been thinking about the past perfect and how we can teach it. And the problem with the way that I've seen it presented in a lot of course books is that it's presented as a narrative tense. Well, let's be honest, it kind of is. We find more examples of past perfect when we read books and we have a chain of events or a sequence than in real life. But the problem with this approach is that it's kind of artificial in the context of our students' lives. Very few of our students are acclaimed writers likely to be published. There might be one or two out there, but I don't think the number is very large. So when will they actually get to use past perfect? If they don't get to use past perfect, can they make the skill of using it automatic? Can they achieve automaticity of past perfect usage? I think it's difficult to do that. However, there is one context where we can use past perfect with a real kind of discourse purpose or a conversational purpose, and that's to show surprise about a past action that we performed. Let me give you an example. I could use past simple to say, today I went to the cafe. Now, on its own, that information is very plain. It's quite boring. There's not much there of interest. Excuse me, the bells are ringing. Should I ask for whom? No, they're ringing for me. Anyway, so we can say, I went to the cafe today. Now, that information is not very interesting. But if I then make another sentence using past perfect behind it, behind that action to show the span of time. So here's I went to the cafe, and then here's all of this time between, some past event and here. I could say, for example, I hadn't been to a cafe in months. Now you could use this in. That's the one that comes to mind most naturally. But most of your students will probably be more aware of for and since. So you could say, I hadn't been to a cafe for 3 months, or I hadn't been to a cafe since the summer. So that's the basic idea for you. Start by giving a very simple past simple action. You can elicit this from your students. You can say, tell me something you did at the weekend. They write it. Okay, when was the last time you did this thing? And then they can show the difference using past perfect. You kind of build up to it in stages. Then you can add slightly more interesting information. You can change the subject word. For example, I met my friend on Sunday. I hadn't seen her for 2 years, something like that. Or, that's the simple one, change the subject to we. We hadn't seen each other for 2 years, for example. So you're going to be teaching them past perfect, and it's going to be negative, isn't it? You're going to have that simple structure, and because it's simple, you can practice, get them talking about it. Then they could do a kind of production activity where they say to the other person, oh, I've got to tell you this, listen. And then they take it in turns, and it could be like a game of one-upmanship. So if the first person says, on Sunday I went to a cafe, I hadn't been to a cafe for a month. And the other person says, that's nothing. On Sunday I went to the gym. I hadn't been to the gym for 6 months. And then they kind of challenge each other to make the time longer and longer. They have to think about actions like, on Sunday I watched Peppa Pig on TV. I hadn't watched Peppa Pig on TV since I was 6, for example. They might win in that case. We'll see. So there you go. Very simple way of getting past perfect contextualized to give the students an understanding of its relationship with a past time that is more recent, and it gives them a bit more practice with for and since as well. If you've got any other ideas of how you could use past perfect in a more conversational way, I'd love to hear them. Put them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe. It really helps me, but it also means my videos will become more visible on YouTube. They have their algorithmic magic, and without the help of you out there liking and subscribing away, my videos are probably not going to get noticed, which is probably not the worst thing in the world, but I've got an ego to take care of. And if you really like this idea, think about maybe getting me a coffee. That would be lovely if you could. It's €3. There's a link in the description below. And what I'd really like, actually, more than anything else right now, would be some of your questions. What would you like me to look at in these videos? What aspects of teaching do you kind of consider either weak points or areas that you're not very comfortable with? What would you like to know more about? So leave a comment or get in touch with me. You can find me through all sorts of social media. I'd love to hear from you. So until next time, thanks very much and goodbye.